During the first few months of the COVID lockdowns, a lot of musicians were putting out live from home videos where they would record themselves playing multiple parts and then stitch them together afterwards to create a live performance from their homes. I thought this was such a cool idea. I thought it'd be a great fit for me as a one-man band myself, and all I needed to do was find 4 or 5 songs of mine that I knew how to play all of the parts for on each instrument, record those parts, and stitch it together. But when I sat down to actually find 4 or 5 songs that I knew all the parts to, I realized that there weren't 4 or 5 songs that I knew all of the parts to. In fact, there weren't any. And the reason for that has to do with how I write music in the first place. So it starts out pretty normally. I grab my guitar, I sit down and I play some riffs until I have something I like, sing some lyrics over it, start to imagine what it's going to sound like with all the other instruments. But then the next step is I go over to my computer, I open up FL Studio, which is my digital audio workstation, and I use the piano roll tool to create a drum track note by note using my mouse. Then I do the same thing for the bass part, for the piano part, and the synth part. And then finally, at the end, I record guitar and vocals over all of that, kind of like a karaoke track. And this way of making music is called programming your instruments, and it's a very normal, perfectly legitimate way to make music. It's especially common with electronic music, which is where I learned to do it. I used to make electronic music before I started Plum Creek Rhythm Section. There are several advantages to making music this way. The first one being that you'll always get a perfect performance. Computers don't make mistakes when they're performing music like a human would. Another advantage is that it's very easy to go back and change things in the song, even little things, without having to re-record the entire song from scratch. The third and probably biggest advantage of programming your instruments is access. You don't actually have to own or even know how to play the instruments that you include in your music if you program them. You can have an entire symphony orchestra using nothing but your laptop and some headphones. There are also some disadvantages to doing it this way. The first being that your recording is always going to sound completely perfect, whereas a human performer will have little imperfections, and you'll probably be able to pick up on that. It doesn't quite sound authentic. It sounds kind of synthetic. The other disadvantage is the problem that I ran into, which is if you only program your instruments, you're not going to learn how to play them on the actual instruments themselves. And that never bothered me in the past. I never had any reason to be able to know how to play the bass part of one of my songs. If ever I needed to perform a song for a talent show or for a friend or something, I would just get the acoustic guitar and do an unplugged version. It was impossible to play all the parts at once anyway, since it was just me, so it didn't matter. But when I sat down to try and create that live video, I was really forced to ask myself, why do I program all of my instruments instead of playing them? Because the thing is, other than drums, I actually do own and play all the other instruments that I usually include in my songs. I have an acoustic guitar, an electric guitar, a bass, and an electric keyboard that has a piano voice and also several synthesizers. And so I was kind of forced to ask myself, why don't I play them? And the more I thought about it, the more it became obvious that the real reason was just because it was easier. It was what I had always done. And that realization kind of bothered me a little bit because it meant that I had based my entire creative process on what was easy and comfortable. It was like I had been complacent right from the very start, like I had plateaued day one. And so I decided that for this next album, the album that I'm about to show you, I wanted to do things a little bit differently. I wanted to give myself a few rules, a few limitations. Rule number 1. Everything has to be recorded on real instruments. No more programming tracks. Other than drums, I don't own drums, I don't play drums, but everything else I do. So I have to use all real instruments. Rule number 2, for each instrument on each track, it has to be one continuous take. It doesn't have to be the first take, but it all has to be one take. So no cutting and mixing and matching the best parts from multiple takes. Rule number 3 is I had to video record each recording session. There are a few reasons for doing this. First of all, it acts as proof, so that way you can actually see me playing the part that you're hearing, and you can see that they actually match up. Any little mistakes I make on the video, you'll hear them in the recording, and vice versa. The second reason is that it will help keep me honest. So that way I'm not tempted to make little exceptions and fix a part here or there, or use a part from another take here or there, because you'll actually be able to see that it wouldn't match up. So it helps keep me honest. And the third reason is just because I thought it would be really cool to be able to see what you're actually hearing and be able to see it being recorded. I love when musicians do this for some of their cover songs or for live things, so I thought, how cool would it be to do this for a studio album, for the actual finished product, being able to see it. I thought would be really cool. Now there is one exception to the video rule, and that is when I double track instruments, you'll only have to see one recording. Double tracking is a technique where you record the same instrument twice, and you put one take in the left ear and one take in the right ear. And so for the videos that you'll be watching, the one you're seeing is the recording in the left ear. So here's how the rest of the video is going to work. I'm going to show you the whole album track by track, and for each song, I'm going to give you a little commentary about the lyrics, what they're about, a little bit about the music, and then I'm going to actually show you the video of me recording the track. You'll see all the instruments on the screen at once, and what you're seeing is what you're hearing, and it's the finished studio version of the song. So without further ado, I'm really excited to share with you my new album, Infancy. Please enjoy. Track 1 is called Grow Together, and for some background on the lyrics, less than a week after I put out my last album, Thesis, I became a dad. My wife and I welcomed our beautiful daughter into the world, and nothing was ever the same. Of course, all the things they say about having kids is true. But I was really surprised that not only was parenting about me helping my daughter grow, I did a lot of personal growth as well early on. I learned a lot about patience and compassion and flexibility, spontaneity, all things that I didn't really expect to fundamentally change about myself, but it almost seemed like I was doing just as much personal growth as my daughter was in the early days, and it was really surprising and inspiring, and so I decided to write this song about it. Musically, the song is in two parts. The first half is, it sounds like sort of a simple radio-friendly chord progression, but there's actually a few little funky chord changes in there, if you can catch them. And then the second part of the song is actually adapted from a piano piece I wrote probably 11, 12 years ago now in high school. And it was also in G major, like the first half of the song, so I thought I would throw it in there to sort of up the ante at the end of the song. And another cool fact about this song is that it has the highest note I've ever sung in a recording at the very end. The last note of the song is a high C, and I've never hit that in a recording before. So please enjoy Grow Together.
Charge hereafter, you can barely see, but who's growing faster when you're holding on to me? My blood forever, not a word you can say, but how simply clever, and the cleverest of ways.
Track 2 is called Voltaire, and the background on this song is I wrote it about 4 years ago. I was still in college, and I was in this philosophy of religion class, and it was super fascinating. And we read this book called Candide by the French philosopher Voltaire. And in it, he satirizes this philosophy called the best of all possible worlds. And it's, it was a religious satire. And so this philosophy that he was satirizing said that, if God is all-knowing and all-powerful and benevolent, then even though bad things happen to good people, we must live at least in the best of all possible worlds. It may not be perfect, but it's as good as it could possibly get. And the implications of that philosophy are that we shouldn't try to interfere in the world and try to make it better for ourselves, because that would be getting in the way of God's plan. And Voltaire, he hated this philosophy, and so he wrote this satire deriding this philosophy. I thought that was super fascinating, so I wrote this song, Voltaire, from the perspective of the philosophy that he was satirizing. And in it, I use the metaphor of sort of like being behind the camera and just recording the world and experiencing it without interacting with it. As far as the music, I wrote it when I had just been sick a few months earlier and I had lost my voice, and I hadn't written any music in a long time. So I wanted something sort of a little simpler, a little gentler to get me back into the rhythm of writing music. And so Voltaire is what came out of that effort. So please enjoy Voltaire.
I'm taking in the sights and sounds, not making any waves around, just a pair of eyes and ears. We are rolling. From far away, safe and sound, content to find but not be found. From a place up high where I can see, we are rolling. Say something. Just a pair of eyes and ears, from a place up high where I can see. I just want to know but not to do. We are rolling.
Track 3 is called Wolves, and it's actually based on a novel that my wife wrote, and it's about a detective, an old-timey detective in the 50s, and he's investigating these missing persons reports, and he comes across this church, and the church turns out to be this cult, and they've been exacting vigilante justice on child abusers. And so this detective becomes very torn, because on the one hand, these people are acting outside of the law, they're breaking the law, they're technically committing murder, but on the other hand, they're bringing justice, they're bringing these people to justice. And so he's very torn. And it brought to mind that that old saying that inside you are two wolves and they're fighting to the death, and the one that wins is the one that you feed. Well, in this detective's case, there are so many different outside factors. They're feeding all of his wolves, and they're just making him more and more upset and causing him more and more turmoil and raising the stakes. And so, I love the book. I might be a little biased. My wife wrote it, but I love the book, so I wrote this song for her for our anniversary a couple years ago. This is actually the first song that I recorded for the record, and you can tell because I'm a little shaggy in the face, and my setup's a little different. It's one of the longest songs I've actually written. It's over 7 minutes long, and it's not actually weirdly structured or anything. It's your classic, verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, but each of those sections is just really long. It's actually the only song in the album that's in standard tuning on the guitar, so that was also kind of fun to write a song in standard tuning. And please enjoy Wolves.
Down this path for so long now, can't turn back. Obsession fills a hole in my future, in my soul. Dear sister, come alone. Your tormentor still at home. your bruises, my boiling blood, feeling helpless, threatening to flood. And I wonder, should I take this broken system to my grave?
The fourth song is called Persistence, and it's a little bit of a sad song. It's about Alzheimer's disease, which a few of my family members have gone through, and watching them go through that really raises a lot of difficult and uncomfortable questions and feelings. You know, watching someone forget like their own children kind of makes you wonder, like, what was it all for? It kind of feels like the good times are being undone. And so I wrote this song to sort of take on that philosophy head on, that no, just because someone doesn't remember the good times doesn't mean they didn't happen, and that the truth of the love that they put into the world, the truth of the good times that they have, that persists even after their memory is gone. The memories will be gone, but the good times will still have happened. And that's the philosophy behind the song, and that's what I wrote it about. So please enjoy Persistence.
All's well that ends well. Is the opposite true? Can a bittersweet ending good life undo? What is the difference in the memories made? Snuffed out in an instant, slowly they fade. Be still, you're breaking heart. Be still, you're breaking heart. All's well that ends well, and all that's well ends. And that bittersweet ending, time too will mend. All the world's history will always be true. All of the good times will follow you too. Be still, you're breaking heart. Be still, you're breaking heart. The truth stays, and even when the skin is gone, the truth stays, and even when the tears are falling, truth stays, and even when the memories go, the truth stays, and even when the light is gone, the truth stays, and even when the skin is gone, the truth stays, and even when the tears are falling, truth stays, and even when the memories go, the truth stays, the truth stays. The love you give can never be undone. The life you live, oh brilliant as the sun, will have been lived. Still when we are gone, and will persist until the final dawn. You lived and you loved and were loved. You lived and you loved and were loved. You lived and you loved and were loved. No one can take that away.
Track 5 is called Moving. It's a fun instrumental track. The title is based on the fact that I wrote it while I was moving from my college apartment into the house that I'm in right now. The music I wrote after having listened to a lot of American football and Animals as Leaders. So I was super into polyrhythms and strange time signatures and twinkly guitar parts. I wanted to write something super difficult to play, super intricate. And it's nowhere near as intricate as Animals as Leaders or American football, but I think it's pretty fun, pretty interesting, and it was certainly hard to play. This was definitely the most difficult track to record on the record. You can actually see me in the video recording the acoustic guitar part. You can see me actually look up and say something after one of the harder sections. It's because my wife was behind the camera, sitting in this seat actually, and I looked up and said, "Oh, thank God I got past the hard part," because it took me, probably 10, 15 tries to get through that song. But in the end, I think it came out really well. It really helped improve my self-confidence as a musician. Part of the reason that I did this whole project like this was because I had some self-doubt about my abilities as a musician. But after recording Moving, I can really confidently say, like, yes, I play guitar, check this out. So I really enjoyed making this, so please enjoy Moving. track 6 is called The 20th Century, and it's probably the heaviest, darkest song on the record. It's another one of the long ones, and it's about what it sounds like. It's about the 20th century, more specifically the first half, and like how awful the first half of the 20th century was. When you think about like wars in the 1600s or whatever, you kind of think, okay, yeah, things were really, really rough back then. There wasn't enough food, there wasn't enough resources, there wasn't enough water, there was famines and plagues and stuff. But when you think about World War I and World War II and the Great Depression and the Holocaust, it's like they had just invented like penicillin and fertilizer and air conditioning. There was more food, water, shelter, and comfort than ever before. And for some reason, that's when we decided to have like the most gruesome wars of all time. It just kind of baffles my mind. And like, how did we drop the ball so hard? We had the perfect opportunity to just improve life so much, and we did the exact opposite. So I could talk about this all day because it just boggles my mind. So instead, I wrote a song about it. The music for the song was mostly inspired by the Porcupine Tree song Anesthetize. There's in fact one particular riff that if you know that song, you'll probably think, that's like that part from Anesthetize. It's got all sorts of funky time signatures, lots of different little sections, and it was a lot of fun to play. I really love playing the guitar part. The vocal part was really fun. I love doing the little choir. It's another example of I'm not showing every double-tracked recording, but each of the 3 choir parts I recorded 4 takes. So there's actually a 12-part choir singing 3 parts. So anyway, I had a lot of fun making this song, so please enjoy The 20th Century.
10,000 years of patience coming to a head. The pinnacle of human progress, countless millions dead. The best life has ever been, is that what was said? Among freezing widows waiting in crowded lines for bread. Is this really any better? isn't over yet. Or so they've said. And now our biggest threat is something in our heads. How many times? How many countless lives must we sacrifice before you're satisfied? That's somebody's child. Now eternity is open wide. The only certainty is undermined. Here come the curtains, see now the lights will spend eternity wondering why. Spend eternity wondering why. We'll spend eternity wondering why. Spend eternity wondering why. Spend eternity wondering why.
All right, we're in the home stretch now. Track 7 is called Unresolved, and the lyrics are about job hunting and how demoralizing it can be and how defeating it can be. I graduated college in May of 2020, so you can imagine how my job prospects were at that time. I actually had a job lined up when I graduated, but they were in the middle of doing my background check, and they sent me an email, right when COVID lockdown started, and they said, hey, actually, we're going to have to revoke your offer of employment. We're actually laying off a bunch of people. We're really sorry. We hope you can find more work. And it ended up taking me about 6 months to find another job. In the meantime, I was just kind of eating through my savings. And it was really tough because, nobody was hiring at the time. And so every time I would send off an application, I wouldn't hear anything at all. So that was really frustrating and demoralizing. And so I dealt with it the only way I know how, and that's to write a song. And it all ended up working out. I got my dream job. I love what I do now. But yeah, it took a while, and it took a lot of just getting ignored and just having to keep trying, 20, 30, 40, 50 times before I even heard back from anybody. The music in the song is actually pretty interesting. It's another one of those songs that's in 2 parts, and the ending is like totally different than the first half. For all you music nerds out there, the ending has this chord progression where it repeats, and it goes from the flat 6 to the 5 sus4 to the 5, and it sounds like it wants to resolve the tension back to the 1 chord. But I don't do that. I keep repeating this chord progression that builds up tension and it wants to release. And not only do I not release the tension, I don't even resolve down to the regular 5 chord. On the last go around, I let it ring on that sus4. So it's the as much tension and anticipation as I could muster, and then I don't leave it. I don't let it resolve. I leave it unresolved. So it's sort of a thematic connection to the subject matter to let the song not resolve, just like all of those companies ignored my resume. So anyway, I had a lot of fun making this song. I'm super proud of this song. It might be my favorite on the album. So please enjoy Unresolved.
I heard your message. I heard it clear as day. And I've been thinking long and hard about what I wanna say. So I've got an offer, something you might wanna know. I could be an asset, take you where you wanna go. So what do you say? Am I what you're looking for at last? Oh, what do you say? I could give you something more if you ask. Oh, what do you say? I sent a postcard with all that I can do, and I slipped it underneath your door, and I'm waiting here for you. It's been all summer now, and I'm wondering if it's me. Did I get it wrong somehow about who I wanna be? So what do you say? Am I what you're looking
Well, folks, we have reached the last song of the album, the title track. It's called Infancy. It's the longest song that I've ever put out there. It's another one of those intricate guitar songs. And lyrically, it tells the story of how it's been being a dad. I am a very routine-oriented lover of stability. And so as you can imagine, having a baby kind of threw a wrench in all of that. And there were times early on when I was like, man, I wish everything could just calm down. You know, everything's kind of crazy right now. But at the same time, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I mean, my daughter brings so much joy and life and energy and spontaneity into my life, and that's something that I really need and something that I've really learned to enjoy and love. And so I wouldn't have it any other way, as you'll hear in the song. The song is in 3 parts. There's sort of a fast-paced beginning part, a sort of heavier middle part, and then a part at the end that starts soft and then builds to this repeating mantra about how I wouldn't have it any other way, which I think is a great way to close out the song thematically, close out the album. But I think it came out really well, and I'm really proud of it. So please enjoy the closing track, Infancy.
Could have known things would go this way. Some new unknown every single day. Stay a while and you'll see a certain chaos in its infancy, just the way it has to be. A certain things would go this way. Some new unknown every single day. And all my plans go out that nursery door. Expectations strewn across the floor, but I'd be lying if I didn't say I wouldn't want it any other way. I wouldn't want it any other way. I wouldn't want it any other way. I wouldn't want it any other way.
Well, there you have it. That is my new album, Infancy. I really hope you enjoyed. I had such a fun time making this album. I had a great time making this video for you and recording all the parts. And the album is available now on all streaming services. You name it, it's probably on there. It's also available for free on Bandcamp. So feel free to download it there if you prefer not to stream. And thank you so much for watching and for listening. And I will see you next time.